be showing you how to add stitches to your knitting. So we're going to do only in knit, and we will do purl later. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches, and when your pattern tells you to yarn over, it'll probably tell you to, let's say, knit 3 and yarn over. And okay, that's what we'll do, like the same as what we do with our washcloth. So we do 1, 2, 3 knits, and then yarn over. So to yarn over, bring your yarn to the front of your right hand needle and keep on knitting. You see that yarn is going over your needle and creating a new stitch. So now we will have 9 instead of 8. And I will show you how that happens. So now you see that we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now, in order to yarn over at the beginning of your work, it'll tell you yarn over and knit to the end of the row. So if you want to do a yarn over at the beginning of your row, you're going to put your needle on top of your yarn, pass it around, and then start knitting. There we go. And that's how you do your yarn over at the beginning of your work. So now, what if it says to make 1? So let's make believe that they tell you knit 3 or knit 2 and make 1. So in order to do that, you're going to knit 2 and see that strand that attaches one stitch from the other, that one there. That one there you put on top of your needle and you knit it. So that is called making 1. You put that strand on top of your left hand needle and you knit it. And then you knit to the end of the row. And now let's do a make 1 with your stitch twisted, because on a yarn over in the middle of your work or with making 1, it'll leave a hole like that. Sometimes that's what you want because it's part of the design, and sometimes you don't want it to show. So what you want to do is that you're going to want to, let's say 2, and then make 1. But in order for your make 1 not to leave a hole, you put your strand on top of your needle, the same as the last time. But instead of knitting it through here, you are going to knit it through the back. So therefore, your stitch becomes twisted. And when it's twisted, your stitch, it doesn't leave a hole. So there we go. Let's get this straight. Okay, so now let's knit to the end. Sometimes your pattern will ask you to knit front and back of one stitch. So let's do that. When you knit front and back, let's do the first one. Let's do one in the middle. So when it says knit front and back, you're going to knit the front of that stitch, and without taking it out of your left hand needle, hold on to that one, because like that it doesn't go anywhere. So hold on to that one. You don't take it off your needle and go to the back of that same stitch. Go to the back and knit it through the back. So there it comes. And here we have it. So now one stitch becomes two. And now let's do that again, but in the middle of your work. Let's knit front and back of that one. So we're going to knit it in the front. Hold on to your yarn and pick up the back of that same stitch. See? That back and knit it. And then knit to the end. Or let's do the front and back of the last stitch. So like that, you see how it's done. So that's the last stitch. Some patterns tell you to knit front and back of the last stitch. So that's the front and that's the back of the stitch, and you knit it. There we go. So we had 8 stitches. Now we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 because we added 3. Okay, so some shawls in which you start with only 1 stitch, after a while it tells you to knit front and back of the first stitch and front and back when you come back. So let's do that. Let's do knit front and back of the first stitch, and then it'll probably tell you to knit 2 together on the and leave the last 3. So let's do knit 2 together and knit the last 3. And then it would tell you to knit to the end of the second row and knit the front and the back of that last stitch, in which you will do knit front and back. And so that's what a lot of shawls tell you to do. And it looks very nice because it gives it a very nice look. For example, on this pattern, it tells you to knit front and back of that first stitch. So it tells you to knit front and back of that first stitch, knit to the end of the row, knit 2 together before the last 4, and knit the last 4. And on the way back you would knit the 4, knit to the end of the row, and knit front and back of that first stitch, or the last stitch, and talking about the end of the row. So now you have something very pretty like this. And you keep adding and adding and adding stitches, and it just becomes very, very pretty. But we'll talk about that some other time.